Hello.
Hi, Patty.
How you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Oh, no.
This happened to me yesterday as well, though, and everyone else could see the presenter, so probably
Oh, that's not good.
some of your pictures were still on air.
What should I do? I'll try. Oh, I can try coming back in. My little green light's on.
Oh, and I can see your picture. I think it's probably something to do with on-air Hangout.
I see my little picture in the bottom, but
well, that's important. Do you want to try screen sharing and see if that works? Okay.
Yeah. I guess I should.
Oh, hang on one second. Alva. Can you do me a favour?
Yeah.
Can you just come into
Stager.
Huh?
Go ahead.
It's going to be fine, don't worry. And would you be able to just come into this Hangout and see if you can see David? My computer goes funny when I'm
Now, do you see me and what I'm presenting, or do you just see what I'm presenting now?
No, I think I just see what you're presenting, but I can't see that either. So
Oh.
I think it's honestly, I think it's the stupid.
Well, there's back to me. Oh, who do we have?
Can you see it?
I can see something.
Okay, so we can see you on our screen.
Okay. And the present. Now you see the presentation?
I can see the screen.
Yes. Yeah, that's freaking cool. So yeah, it's just me.
You have problems because you can't see the screen.
I mean, I don't really need to see it, but it's difficult to know if it's working.
Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.
No problem.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to post a link to the people that should be coming.
Before they join, can you just give me the any other info that you have about them?
Sure. So these guys are going to be our mentors next week at the first Google Women's Workshop.
Okay.
So we're training them up on a bunch of different things. So they've got some of them already are quite technical, but some of them have got only very basic knowledge. So I just want to give them some training before they actually come to the day. But this is recorded automatically because it's an on-air Hangout, so I'm posting the slides and the videos afterwards so that they can check it out if they don't have time today. So hopefully some of them will come. That's basically it. I'll do an intro though if you want me to. So when's your final?
That's a good question. I'm not sure yet.
What? So when will you know? Or are you just kind of like, yeah, keep going to come in until?
Yeah, it's been 6 years, so.
Really? Wow. Oh.
Fancy. Time to move on.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh. Okay, let me email them.
So these are all women in Egypt or all over?
No, they're all Egyptian. Basically, the idea is that the workshop's going to be like people who've got ideas for stuff that they want to do online, but no idea kind of how to get started. So we're hoping that this will enable them to actually kind of maintain some activity after the event.
What's the event? Oh.
Here we go. It's the G Forward workshop, so it's like it's going to be 2 days of hands-on workshops and people sort of learning about different technologies and implementing them whilst they're there as well.
Got it.
We hope. Hi, Kareem.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome to the Hangout.
Thank you.
We're a bit early, so probably won't start for about another 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
Really?
Hmm?
Fire alarm's going off.
Stop.
Okay. I'm assuming the building's not on fire.
Yeah, with a bit of luck. Do you have a link to the slides that you can share with me, David?
The slides? Sure.
Thank you. Ah, they're beautiful.
You can thank the Chrome dev team for that.
Thank you, Chrome Dev team. Alright, I'm just going to go on mute for about 15. I'll be back when it's starting.
Okay. Oh, another person with a webcam, kind of.
Okay, hi everybody. David, I'm not sure how many people you can actually see because I can literally just see myself, but welcome everybody and thank you for coming to the HTML and Chrome extensions talk for the G-Forward workshop, which, as you know, is happening next week. We're really lucky to have David all the way from Mountain View presenting on HTML5 today. So thank you, David. Very early with you, so thanks for coming in so early again. And without further ado, I'll let you get started.
Okay, great. So like Patty said, I'm going to be talking about HTML5. We've got some great slides here, courtesy of the Chrome dev team, who have obviously been pushing the envelope and moving HTML5 forward so that we can develop all kinds of great things inside the browser. So let me go ahead and present these slides. You'll stop seeing me and you'll start seeing these slides. Okay, I hope everybody can see the slides there. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. So who here knows anything about web development already? Who's done some web development for the past few years? Anyone?
Nope.
I work a little bit on development, but I left this career and turned to social media.
Okay.
And I was working as a developer, but I left this career and shift to social media.
Okay. So now is a great time, whether you are new to web development or whether you have been kind of struggling with all the various limitations of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS for a long time. As you can see, this presentation is actually developed in HTML5, and it highlights a lot of the neat features. And actually, there's several dozen new features of HTML5 that are integrated into this presentation. So first, we can see that it's now possible to build really rich applications inside of the browser, and scrolling through these slides is something that's very easy to do in HTML5. So without further ado, a quick overview of the progression of web technologies. For a long time, we were kind of stuck on kind of an HTML4-ish, XHTML kind of world, but now browser development has picked up in the past few years, and we're introducing lots of new cool technologies. So one question that a lot of people have is they keep hearing this term HTML5. They're wondering, what does it mean? Well, essentially, HTML5 is the term that's used for an ongoing standardization of new features for HTML, CSS, which is the version now CSS3, and additions to JavaScript. So these slides here that I'm presenting are at slides.html5rocks.com, which is a website maintained by not only the Chrome development team here at Google, but also it has contributions from lots of independent developers, all of which have a significant interest in helping to make HTML5 and web technologies, easy to use, and widely implemented. So today we'll go over some of the things that HTML5 offers in terms of offline and storage. This has been traditionally an area where the browser has been weak. Essentially everything that you needed to store traditionally, you'd need to store on the server. And what that meant is that you couldn't access any kind of content without being connected to that server. Now with HTML5, there are actually several very useful APIs to access offline data. Second, there's new technologies around real-time communication. Things like WebSockets make things a lot faster. There's WebRTC. Next, the file and hardware access. This has also been an area that web development has traditionally suffered. With HTML5, it's much easier to build websites that interact with the native file system so that users can do things that they expect to be able to do in an application, like drag and drop. And hardware access, there is all kinds of neat hardware in modern devices, everything from GPSs to accelerometers and other types of devices like the camera. And HTML5 makes this much easier to access. Semantics and markup. So this is an interesting area. For those of you who have done web development for a long time, kind of what HTML element, which tag gets very, very, very heavily used? Like what tag do you end up using for almost everything when you're building a website? Anyone? You end up just throwing this tag in there and assigning a class to it or assigning an ID to it. Okay, everyone must have their mics muted. So, sorry, go ahead. Okay, so traditionally, most websites will just be developed as a massive collection of div tags. And the problem with that is that we really want the HTML, if possible, to describe the semantic meaning of the data. So what does that mean? We'll go into it more, but it essentially means that the HTML should be structured and should represent kind of the meaning or the relationship between all the elements of the data on the page, and using some of the new HTML5 tags really helps us do that. We'll see later. There's stuff to help with graphics and multimedia, like the canvas tag. CSS3 has all kinds of great new animations and effects. And let's move into the rest of it. So, offline and storage. So the first HTML5 API that we'll talk about is what's called web storage or local storage. So we can see here that now the window element of the browser has a new object called local storage. So local storage provides a very, very simple, easy-to-use API that lets you set and get key value pairs that are specific to this page. So I can type something in here like "Hi Mina," and then I can click Save. And what just happened is it called some code like this that took the value, which is "Hi Mina," and wrote it to this key value. And it also wrote the timestamp. So now, if I refresh the page, you can see the text is still there. It didn't just disappear. because it was stored by the browser in the local storage. It's just a giant dictionary of key value pairs. And you can see that it read the time stamp field to get the last saved. So you might not believe me. You might think that there's some kind of you can, Dali, you can interrupt with any question at any time. I'm happy to take questions. You can either type them and I'll read them, or you can go ahead and say them. Okay, if you're going to type it, I'll just continue explaining for everyone until you're done. So you might not believe them. You might be like, oh, this is posting some form with some XML HTTP request, and then it's reading it back. How can I actually see what's going on here? So one of the features of Chrome is that you can go into Tools and then Developer Tools, and it will pull up a bunch of tools that are really, really crucial to modern web development that really make you more productive. And so I can use the search tool and or the selector tool and select an element on the page, and I can see that's the text area. And then here's the script that's actually executing when I click Save. And so we can see here that this is the code that's actually necessary to implement hooking up this form with the local storage settings. Okay, let's see what Dahlia's question is. Is this the coding behind autosave? I don't know what do you mean exactly by autosave. If you're talking about autosave in like Google Docs, then no, not exactly, because Google Docs saves the data to the cloud. So the data is actually being stored on the server so that you can access it from any computer. An example of how this could be applied. Sure. So Dali's asking an example of why you might want to use offline storage or the local storage API. And we'll see a couple others that might be better fits. So one example of why you might want to use local storage is anytime you're building an application which is not guaranteed to have an internet connection and you still want it to work. So maybe you want to have some kind of offline cache of a user's to-do list or their upcoming calendar events. There's offline features in many Google applications, and they use APIs like this in order to store some of your data locally, so that there can be something there to show the user even if they're on an airplane, for example, and don't have Wi-Fi. So we can also, using the Chrome inspector, we can go and bring up the console here, and we can actually type in JavaScript. So I can type in window.localstorage, get item value, and I can see that it has the value high mina. And I can actually go ahead and manually set it to a different value and then refresh the page. And we can see that this is actually the API that's being used. So I will say hello G+ Hangout. And now I'll reload the page. And you can see that now the text box says hello G+ Hangout. And that's because that's what was put in local storage. So the Chrome inspector, the just developer tools, really, really, really useful whenever you're developing anything. All right. let's go ahead to another API. So sometimes just using a key value storage or dictionary is not what you want. Sometimes you want kind of more structure, more power, and Web SQL, Web SQL database, can provide that. So browsers typically implement this using SQLite, and it provides most of the SQL API. So you can do things like create a table and then insert. Let me put some data here, right? And this is inserting rows into a SQL database. Where's the SQL database? How can you inspect it? You can go again through the developer tools and go to resources, and then go to databases, and then you'll see the database, and then you'll see the table. And so we can see here that there are 4 rows inserted into the database. So this is another incredibly powerful HTML5 API. It can allow you to build all sorts of powerful offline applications. And you can drop the table, do it all again. All right. Again, if there are any questions from anybody, you can either go ahead and speak, interrupt me. I'll pause now in case anyone has any questions, or you can type them into the chat on the side. All right. I won't talk about IndexedDB, but it's just another API. Okay. The application cache. So this is a really important complement to the various dictionary and database or SQL database offline storage APIs. And that's because the application cache provides the browser with information about what web page it should load when it cannot connect to the network. So the way that this works is by specifying a manifest that tells the browser what pages it needs to make sure that it keeps a copy of so that you can load the page if you're offline. And at this point, I'll introduce another resource which is incredibly useful for web development, which is this set of tutorials at html5rocks.com. So there's an incredibly extensive set of tutorials that are constantly being updated. There have been 5 posted in the last week, and they just continue to cover new ways of developing with HTML5 and new APIs, and it's just an incredible resource. So one of the tutorials is on the application cache, and this goes into very clear and good detail about how to get an application running offline. Real-time communication. So one API that is useful is web workers. I'm not going to go into it. There's more information online, but it can be useful to get you additional performance. WebSockets, though, is a really cool evolving protocol that basically lets you do something from servers that you've always wanted to do, which is push data to the client. So who here is familiar with the kind of existing APIs, kind of pre-WebSockets, to do push? Like you have some client, you want to give it some data. what did we have to do before WebSockets? Have any of you had any experience with that in the past few years? Nope. Okay. I love the emoticons in the chat. Thanks. They keep me going. There's a whole range of techniques that had been affectionately called Comet, kind of as a play on words on Ajax. We do that kind of thing in the tech industry. And it involved a whole variety of techniques. There was just straight up polling for data at some URL. Then there was long polling, where you'd keep a hanging connection open for like 5 or 10 seconds, and if the browser or if the server had any data, it would try and send it before that connection closed. And these were all, to some extent, just straight up hacks to get around the limitations of the platform. Thankfully now, with HTML5, we have an API called WebSockets, which just keeps a connection open, and the server can just put a message into that connection, and then it will appear as a message in the browser. So you can see here there's a socket.onMessage callback, and it basically receives this object, and then it has data inside of it. And so we can connect to the server, and then we can send it something. In this case, it's just echoing the same thing back. But the way that it's doing this is by just pushing a message into our WebSocket. So the server can send us stuff without our browser making a request, which can be really useful and can make lots of applications like chat and others more efficient. Okay. Notifications. So notifications are another great API that allow web pages to do the types of things that native applications have been able to do for a long time, which in this case is popping up a little window in the corner of the screen when there's something really important for the user. So a web page has to request the permission. So you can see at the top here, my browser is asking me as a user if I want to allow this web page to show notifications. So I go ahead and I accept it, and then this page is set up to show tweet notifications. So actually, let's see, from a username. Does not consider which. I will let. Maybe I should let you guys pick the username. I don't want to be responsible for any random stuff that shows up on Twitter. Let's see. Any preferences? Just type it in. If not, I'll go ahead and just go with Google. So you can see, maybe you can't see actually because I haven't shared my entire desktop, but if you go ahead and do this on your own browser, when you click Show Tweet Notifications, there's a little window that pops up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen that contains those tweets from that user. So it's a really useful API. It can be used, like Gmail, for example, uses it to show you a notification whenever you get a new email if you configure it that way. Calendar can remind you of events. You could build a to-do list. You could build really any application that you want and build in notifications. And the notifications are a full-featured HTML5 web page. So you can do all the cool stuff that you can do in the browser inside of the notification window. It's just a browser window that gets created in the corner. All right, file and hardware access. We have new drag and drop APIs, so users can drag images, and then you can get the metadata associated with them. In this case, this is an API to allow a user to drag an image in from their desktop. This is functionality that users have been used to in native applications. Now it exists in the browser. Similarly, you can drag files out onto the desktop. So you can take this like PDF and drag it out onto the desktop, and then Chrome pops up a little thing saying it's created out there. In this case, this PDF is for the printable 3D glasses. You should go ahead and try that on your browser at home. And file system APIs. Okay, moving ahead to geolocation. This one is really, really cool. This has been a feature that has really made, especially mobile, but really all applications, but especially mobile applications, really, really powerful. Because a lot of times, mobile applications are often local applications. And in order to customize the user's experience, knowing their location is really important. So in this case, I can say, show my position, and then it will pop up a permission saying that slides.html5rocks.com wants to track my location. I'm like, okay, that's the experience that I want. So I click allow, and then it goes ahead and shows me in my laptop knows where I am, so it's able to locate me at the Googleplex here. So that's really cool. Okay, so I'm talking nonstop. I'll pause in case there are any questions. Yes, Dahlia's typing something. Okay, I'll keep going. Yeah, I'll keep going. I could go into this code a lot more, but it's probably better if you guys just sit down with it later, play with it. All the code's very accessible in the slides here. You can show the source, and you can see everything's in here. So like, here's the complete code behind that geolocation example, right? So we've got the geolocation part of it, and then we've got the code above here in order to hook it up with the Google Maps API. Okay? View source, always magic. All right. Okay, this one's just kind of a fun example. Although you can imagine this being useful if you were building, some kind of application that you either wanted to allow the user to control, perhaps a game based on tilting their device, or there's all kinds of crazy uses that people come up with. But in this case, if I lift up my laptop and I tilt it around, right, you can see that this Chrome logo is being rendered based on the angle that I'm holding my laptop. So that's just for fun, but you could imagine controlling, like I said, some kind of device based on it. This is a really cool, really quick, powerful API. So you can take any input field and just add this X WebKit speech attribute, and then it'll put a little microphone speech button in the text field, and the user can click that, and then it'll send the audio and do speech recognition on it. I'm not going to do a demo of speech recognition though, because those are, in case there's some kind of echo or something, it's always questionable. Semantics and markup. Okay, so this is something I spent a lot of time talking about at the beginning, and this is something that's been significantly changed in HTML5, is to just add a bunch of new tags so that you can provide more semantic markup rather than just making everything a div and then assigning it some class. So in this case, we have I think a couple dozen new tags. Notably, we have a header tag, we have a navigation tag, we have a section article, and also a footer tag. So in this case, there's also the tags here, and then there's some really cool ones like the progress tag, which will automatically create a progress bar. You see that you both have the option to just have an kind of indeterminate progress bar, where it's just saying, okay, there's some progress being made, and it just shows this little animation. And then there's also a progress bar where you can specify the value, the maximum value, and the amount that's complete. So in this case, it's showing this as 75% complete. There's also additional ways to specify the relationship between of a link to the page that you're on. So this is useful to do all kinds of things, like specify the favicon, right? So browsers traditionally would just look for it as like favicon.ico or favicon.ping or favicon.jpg. Now you can specify a specific URL for the favicon, and then there's other ones like specifying that this link you want the browser to prefetch because you think that it's highly likely that the user will go to it, so you want it to be a really fast experience. You have other ones like nofollow and whatnot that tell like a web or a search engine, a search crawler, that it should not kind of give any significance to this link because it might, it's just posted by like a user in the comments, and so you don't want to allow spammers to get, the kind of vote of your site. All right, let's go for microdata. The ARIA attributes, so these are a collection of standardized attributes for accessibility, and they help people who use kind of the accessibility features of the browser, or they use add-ons or separate software that is designed for accessibility to make sense and to navigate your website. So there's a whole collection of these attributes that HTML5 introduces that basically let you do things like explain to the accessibility components what the important elements of your page are, so that when they, like, the software, for example, might read off the name for each of the navigation elements. Like in Gmail, it might read off compose mail, inbox, mark as read, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll read through all these things, and this is how you can tell the accessibility software about your page. Another really cool feature of HTML5 is it recognized how important forms are to the web and added a whole bunch of new features around form input and validation. So previously, before all these additions to HTML5, what did you have to do if you wanted to validate a form? Anyone? There are two ways to validate a form, one of which you should still definitely keep on doing. But what's the other way to validate a form? In the chat box or turning on your mic? Okay. So previously, if you wanted to validate a form, you'd need to hook it up to some JavaScript. And you'd have to process everything in JavaScript and make sure that a field wasn't empty, or you'd have to make sure that a field matched some regular expression, or all kinds of things. Thankfully, in HTML5, the HTML tags themselves can declare these types of things. Yes, Sarah, that's if the fields are mandatory. So Sarah's asking if that's if the fields are mandatory, and the answer is that in HTML5, you can, and it's a very good point, HTML5, there's this required keyword or attribute that specifies that that field has to be non-empty. And so in this case, you can see that this field has a kind of a red highlight or a red glow around it, and that's because it's a required field, but I haven't put anything in there. So if I put some text in there, then it's no longer red because I filled it in. But if I delete that text, then all of a sudden it's red because it's a required field. So this is really, really, really simple compared to writing a bunch of JavaScript, right, and hooking up the submit to some JavaScript function that then it has to have some ID assigned to the input tag so that it can do a document.getElement by ID and then get the value out of the field. All of that is a lot more than just declaring this input field as required. So that's some of the simplification that that's a lot of the simplification that HTML5 provides. And then it also provides other types of fields, like instead of just a text field, you can have an email field. And this has a built-in validator that knows what an email address is supposed to look like. So if I type sum@email.com, yeah, it looks like an email address. If I just type my name, it's going to highlight it with red because that is not what an email address looks like. If I type if I type david@example.com, then it says, okay, that looks like an email address. No problem. It obviously can't know if you typed in your right email address. david@example.com is not my email address, but it looks like one. Other types of fields, so you have a date field, which does the same thing. You can specify also a range of dates, which it'll validate that whatever date the user entered is inside that range. There's also a range type, which provides a slider. There's a search type, which provides a box, which it's worth noting that this search type does not actually do any kind of search it just looks like a search box. So it'll create an element in your page that looks like the search boxes that user is used to seeing. So it just helps a user recognize that, oh, this box is used for searching. But you'll still have to hook it up to whatever search you have either on your web page or on your server. The next one is a telephone number, right? So you can specify a regular expression for what a telephone number should look like, and then it'll validate it, right? So if I type in something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it says no, that doesn't match your regular expression. But if I type in something like, and this is what a phone number in the U.S. looks like. Obviously, you could write your own regular expression for whatever phone numbers you wanted to accept. And if I type 1, 2, 3, 5, 5, 5, 4680, it accepts it. If I put like a 9 on the end there, whoops. Oh, interesting. If that regular expression might be a little sketchy with that dot star at the end there. I guess that's because if you have this, it's probably accounting for extensions at the end. Interesting. But if I put like 4 numbers in the area code at the beginning, it would say it's bad. And so there you go. Those are some of the new form types. The form fields also have the really cool effect of, on a mobile device, presenting a keyboard that is relevant to that form or that input field. So if you have a text field, then you're going to get the keyboard with all the letters. But if you have a number field or a telephone field, then you're going to get a keyboard that just has numbers. So that's really, really useful that the mobile browsers, mobile Safari, the Android browser are aware of these HTML5 features. Graphics and multimedia. In this case, there's new audio and video tags in HTML5 so that you don't have to rely on the Flash plugin in order to have the user see video. So in this case, you can even have elements outside of the video tag that will play it. And here, it's applied a CSS reflection effect, so you can see the CSS. I'm going to mute it, so that you can see the CSS is providing this reflection effect below the video. So everything that you can do to any normal part of your website, you can also do with a video and create all kinds of cool effects. Canvas 2D, this is getting into perhaps some trickier code to read if you're not familiar with kind of graphics drawing and stuff. But there's this really, really powerful canvas feature in HTML5 that lets you do graphics drawing efficiently. Let's skip over this example. There's also Canvas 3D, which lets you use an API that looks very similar to most OpenGL APIs to draw things in using OpenGL. There's advanced support for scalable vector graphics. Here's an example. This is a vector image. So what does that mean? That means that the artist created this, in some kind of vector drawing application like Adobe Illustrator, and so you can kind of zoom in infinitely, and it'll still look smooth. Some CSS3 features. There are new selectors. These selectors are added to just help get around some of the kind of hacks that people had to introduce previously in order to get the effects and compatibility that they wanted. So one thing that fairly commonly comes up, especially when you're drawing some kind of list of data, was before HTML5 and CSS3, you would have to have your templating code kind of add a class to every element in a list. And you'd have to add the even class and then add the odd class and then add the even class and then add the odd class. Whereas in CSS3, the CSS is aware of these things. There's also things to select the first and other things that you might apply some kind of special style to. So there's a ton of additions in CSS3. Another really cool addition is web fonts. So you can specify a font based on a URL, and the web browser will automatically download that font and then use it for the page. So this is something that has really plagued designers for a long time on the web, which is that they were limited to the fonts that the users already had installed on their computer, and each operating system and each browser had different fonts. So now it's possible to rely on a standard font that everybody will be able to use because their browser will download it automatically. So that's really useful. And I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but there's like a Google Fonts, Google Web Fonts page where you can find all sorts of great fonts that are available. So really cool. And you can, like I said, make sure by using this feature that every user will see the same exact font. Okay, text wrapping. Just another really useful feature, just to be able to specify this text overflow ellipsis in CSS rather than doing something with JavaScript and computing the previously you'd have to compute the width of the content and then compare it to the width of the container and then decide where to do some kind of string operation and replace it with this magic ellipsis. In CSS3 with HTML5, you can just specify that if this text is too long for its width of its container, have the browser draw an ellipsis. Really great. The additional support for columns, additional support for how the strokes of the text are drawn, just all kinds of great features. One of the features that, or two of the features coming up here that have always been somewhat annoying before HTML5 and CSS3 are both rounded corners and gradients. So I remember, for years, drawing these rounded corners, drawing gradients in Photoshop, and then making all the random little images that are a few pixels by a few pixels and composing them into a button. And now it's as easy as just taking an arbitrary element and then just saying okay, this border is a 60 pixel radius circle, and it just takes it from the square to a nice rounded corner. And you don't have to go into Photoshop and play around with things and produce a bunch of new files and copy them over. It's just a CSS line. And gradients is the same thing. So, you know, it often looks nice to have a nice gradient, nice transition between two colors on the page. Now you can specify this kind of thing purely in CSS. So, really, really cool. And also shadows. So here we can add a shadow to the text. Make it look a little 3D, pop off the page, and it's really easy in HTML5 and CSS3. And if you see something in you know, on a web page, right, and you want to like examine its style, you can bring up the inspector, right? You can go into Tools and Developer Tools, and then you can use this element selector to select, you know, some kind of element on the page and see, you know, how is it actually drawn. So if I want to see like the style that's used, say, on the title of these presentations, I can click on it, and it'll find it in the DOM, this big, you know, HTML page. And then over on the right side here, I can see what kind of style is applied to it. And it shows me all the way from, you know, the top, which is the fact that it's in the body, and then what other styles it inherits. And then I can see the total computed style. I can see every attribute that the browser is computing for this element. And so if you see anything on any website on the internet, you can use this inspector to find out how did they do that? How did they achieve that look? And this is really, really powerful. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I hope you guys found this HTML5 overview useful. And are there any questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys, and thank you for all the questions in the chat box on the side.
Thank you, David. So guys, Magna will be joining us in 5 minutes to give an overview of Chrome extensions. So if you want to hang around for that, then that would be great. I'll post the audio and the video for this Hangout session as soon as I can process it. So thanks, David, and I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. I actually don't know if there's anyone here. Hey, how are you?
Very well.
Excellent.
Anyone else on the Hangout?
Yeah, Sarah's here, and I think a few people are coming back from the last one, so let's give it a few minutes to let people come back in.
Yes. How was the previous session on HTML5?
It was good. It was good.
Very technical.
I'm honestly not that sure.
All right.
I can't see any of the presentations. I can just hear what they're talking about for some reason. It seems to be working fine for everybody else, but for me it's not. I'm just going to go on mute for a few minutes, or if we start at 5 past.
All right. So I shall wait for people.
Yeah, just hang on until 5 minutes past, and then we'll start.
All right. Perfect.
So Magna, let's get started, and then we can post the video afterwards as well for people that aren't here.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I'm happy that you participate. We may have a little one-on-one session for now at least.
That's great for sure.
That's perfect. So today's session will be around Chrome extensions with a little introduction and then some practical exercise. Maybe first, since we have a little bit of time, you could just let me know how much do you know already about the topic and what interests you the most?
Okay, let's see. I know about the extensions. I use them, but I never developed one.
I see. So I think that's a very common use case. So today we will discuss both some interesting use cases for us to be better advisors for people who work on their projects, but also we'll have a closer look at how to really create one. And we'll start today with a very basic one, but I'll also refer you some resources that if you are advanced enough with some coding, then you can really develop some amazing extensions as well.
That sounds great.
Perfect. So let's get started. I will start with sharing my screen. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, I do.
That's great. So welcome to the Chrome Extensions Hangout. My name is Magda. I'm based in London and work for the Google Enterprise team. So my primary area of focus would be Google Apps, but my other Google products are definitely within my passion area. The agenda for today's Hangout looks as follows. So first we start with a brief Google Chrome introduction to make sure that we understand all benefits and powerful features of this browser. The second point will be the introduction to Google Chrome extensions. And the last part will be more technical and practical, meaning we'll be creating a Google Chrome extension. So let's get started and continue with the first part, Google Chrome introduction. So what is Google Chrome? It's a fast, open source web browser that's really designed for speed, security, stability, and simplicity. So launched in 2008 with all these ideas in mind, and lots of improvements and new features ever since that launch day. There are a couple of areas I wanted to highlight to you that I think are really unique and make this Google Chrome browser experience very positive for our users. First of all will be the HTML5 standards-based. So I know you've just had another Hangout just before this one around this HTML5, so I guess now you are very experienced in this area. Second area, that's great to hear. Second area is that Google Chrome is extensible, and we'll cover this in more detail. Another feature is multi-process architecture. Then very powerful security features like filtered malware and phishing sites, and then sandbox process and plugins. And then very last but not least, very important competitive advantage is that the Chrome browser is really, really fast. And I would like to highlight some of these features in even more detail over the next couple of slides. So what does it really mean, the security for Google Chrome? How is it really different and unique? So the first area I wanted to highlight here will be the safe browsing. So Google Chrome will automatically show you a warning message if you are likely to visit a site that is highly suspected of containing some malware or phishing. So you will not notice this red window with a warning message that this is something very suspicious. The second feature is really interesting as well, sandboxing, meaning that this will help us prevent malware from installing on our computers or using what happened in one browser tab, that this would affect any other session in another tab. So it's a very separate, almost like a fence between the tabs, and very powerful feature for security. And then last but not least, to make sure that we are always on top of really the most up-to-date security features, the browser will auto-update itself. So this feature really ensures that our version of Chrome is automatically updated with the latest security features and fixes. If you are
I have a question about the security thing. So this means I don't get notifications to update my browser, it gets automatically updated on its own?
You can also prompt it. There is a notification that there is a new version of the Chrome available, but for smaller updates, that these are all auto updates.
Okay, thank you.
And if you're interested in this area in something more in-depth, then we have a technical documentation ready as well that I'm sharing on this slide. So speed, something I mentioned is very, we are quite proud about this feature for Chrome. So this browser will not only start fast, but it will load the pages fast, and really even the very heavy, like Flash pages, these will run with ease as well. So what does it mean really? So when we launch the Google Chrome browser, just clicking by the start icon, it will really start within seconds, literally. So in comparison to maybe some other browser solutions, or maybe versions of other browsers, this is really, really fast and literally takes a second or two to start. Second feature, so not only that it starts fast, but also that it will load web pages very fast, and this is because it's powered by the WebKit, open source rendering engine, and loads web pages just in a snap. Another thing here to mention that it's really fast to run web applications, and then also it's fast to search and navigate. And I guess this is quite unique. I wonder if you use this feature, but if you have a Google Chrome browser installed, you can use this let's say URL box both to paste in web addresses and to type web addresses there, but also to do a simple Google search over there. And this is known as the Omni box. Yeah, have you been using this feature?
No, I haven't.
All right.
Sure, I will try.
Some new things that you could. That's great. And because I'll be sharing this material after the Hangout, I've included a couple of videos as well. So this one here is about the speed test. It's quite funny. I mean, it's really impressive to see in 15 seconds how fast really heavy pages load. So it's not only that I'm talking about something, that we can also have it sort of documented in a video, but I would even more encourage to try it and test it on your own to make sure that this experience is really true. And then another feature, another area that would be very important for us while talking on Chrome extensions will be the extensibility. So we can extend our Chrome browser by either adding Chrome extensions or searching for other areas in our Chrome web store. So additional applications or maybe themes. We can really customize our browser and make it a very unique user experience. So in terms of Chrome extensions, we really have tens of thousands of extensions that are available. And today, the purpose of today's Hangout is also to build one as a result of this session. Just wrapping up on the Chrome as a browser part, I wanted to highlight a couple of practical usage features of Google Chrome browser. So the best practice, use the tabbed browsing just by clicking the plus next to the tab you already have opened. The second part, by clicking the plus on the right of our tabs, we will access our app icons. The little star, this is of course a symbol of the bookmarks. Then something I've mentioned, the website / search bar are combined, so this omnibox. We can use it both for typing in the web addresses and for performing some Google searches. Then this little sign over here represents the access settings, the settings, sorry. We can access them via this icon. Then we also have the most visited section. So what are the websites that we visit most often? So with Google Chrome browser, we can access it very fast. Then also another section feature that will be quite useful is the recently closed section, meaning that maybe if we've visited some really good website, but by accident closed it, and don't remember anymore what that was, we can quickly navigate to this recently closed section and it will be there. Then something worth mentioning as well will be the opportunity to sign in into your Chrome browser, which means that whichever device you use, it's just a matter of for you to sign in, you will have the same Chrome experience, so the one that you created for yourself. You will have your extensions, your apps, your bookmarks. So it's a really nice feature, an opportunity to take advantage of. Another feature, the incognito window, is also pretty useful, especially if sometimes maybe you need to navigate and work across several Google accounts, and you have a browser session where you can work in the incognito mode. And yeah, I'm sure there will be also some new features coming as well. I have a little exercise here if you would like to go through this exercise. If not, it can be the homework. But my idea for the exercise was to visit the chrome.google.com/webstore website, and then go to the themes area and browse in that section and then share your impressions and maybe install some theme for your browser. Would that be an interesting exercise for you?
Okay, let's say I did that already. I have a theme installed. I have a theme installed from the web store.
Oh, that's great. So I see you are familiar. For everyone who maybe listens to the recording, feel free to complete this exercise and see how to navigate through the Google Chrome web store and choose a suitable browser. So after this introduction to Google Chrome, let's move to the second part, namely the Chrome extensions. So we need to make the most of Google Chrome. So Chrome extensions will basically are the extra features and functionalities that we can easily add to our Google Chrome. And by using extensions, we can customize the browser with features that we really like, and also while keeping it free of things that we don't use. So it's good that there are some features that we can simply add if we find it useful, if we like it, and not that we receive a browser full of some features that maybe wouldn't really be enabled by default, that might not necessarily be of use for us. So I think it's really interesting to explore this area and have a look in more detail on what we can do with these extra features. So what are some key features of extensions? So they are like little, small plug-ins that you add to your browser, and they extend the functionality of the Chrome browser. they can be used in combination with different websites or applications. And also, extensions can be installed without a Google account. So you just need to have a Chrome browser. And here are a couple of reasons why extensions are really useful to know and to use. So one of the reasons would be that with extensions we get some bonus information about a page. So here is an example of a Google Map extension. So without really switching the window, copy-pasting this address, going to another tab and searching on the map, just by highlighting, we can go straight from that level to see it on the map. So they can really, extensions can enhance the page that we are on with relevant links and information. So the Google Map one will definitely be a good example here and a very positive user experience. The second thing why some of us might really like Google Chrome extensions would be to get timely notifications. And the very popular example here would be the Google Mail Checker. So by this little icon right in your browser, you will see you can work on other things, and here you see whether or not you've received some new mail, if this is something you like to monitor and helps you do your work better. So with some extensions, we add a button next to the address to let us know about certain events. In this case, that we've received a new email. And the third area that is worth highlighting would be to really save some time and to be more productive in our work or in our daily tasks. So we can simply do things with fewer clicks. So with some extensions, we can create shortcuts. So they can act like shortcuts. So in this example, if we use some feed reader and use this RSS subscription extension, we can just get this information whether there is a feed for the site, for sites that we are subscribed for. So by clicking this small icon, we can quickly subscribe to this feed and get this information. So these are just a couple of examples, and I know I'm sure you've already you have some extensions installed, you know how to access them, but just to recap, again, we would need to go to the Chrome Web Store to find the extensions that we are interested in, and then simply install it and try. So again, I have a short video for you to watch maybe after this session as a follow-up, introducing the Chrome extensions. And the exercise, as a recap for this part, is to go to the Chrome Web Store, search for extensions that are interesting to you, and then install it, and then share the impression and some interesting extension that you found with share your impressions over this Hangout. Can we spend a few minutes on this exercise?
Oh yeah. So far, I have the Gmail extension. There's something called Ginger for grammar and spelling checkers. And for sure, my blog is favorite extension.
That's great. So hopefully, again, other participants who listen to the recording can also explore this area more, because there are really lots of great examples to make this Chrome browser experience even better. And I have a couple of examples, some of the top Google Chrome extensions. I think if you also search for this topic, you will find lots of blog posts, lots of rankings in terms of the people's favorites extensions. And one of the extensions that I really like would be the quiz cards in Spanish. So it will help me just keep my routine and learn the new language. And a couple of other very useful extensions as well. This first one is for making nice screenshots. The Google Dictionary, just in a browser, we can very quickly check the definition of the word that maybe we are not sure of. And then some Chrome tips extension is also useful if you like to follow this area. And hundreds and thousands of more. So of course we only highlighted some of them. And now the last part of this Hangout is really to have a little bit of discussion and have a closer look at the technology behind the Chrome extension. And what I tried to do was to put as much information as possible for you that you can follow maybe also after this Hangout, and make sure that you do develop a Chrome extension on your own as well. Just to note that the level of the extension we are going to build just as a sample will be pretty basic. But if you would like to deliver and develop something more advanced, there's lots of great materials for developers as well recommended. So from the technical perspective, from the user side, an extension is some extended additional feature we can use with our Google Chrome browser. From the technology standpoint, this is a zipped bundle of files in the HTML, CSS, JavaScript formats, images, and anything else that we need to create it. Probably the more advanced technically a developer is, the more it can be really added to this bundle of files. So the key technologies behind the extensions would be JSON, Ajax, HTML5, and other web technologies. And here are just some of the key components of an extension. So here is how the structure of an extension looks like, and it's the manifest.json file, then the browser action, page action, and option page. I do realize that this is a bit of theory that I'm talking about now, but I will do my best to relate to all these expressions while we create our extension as well. So please bear with me. It will hopefully in a few minutes become much more practical and easier to understand. So in a graphical form, we can look into this core file of an extension, so this manifest.json file that we'll be working on in a few minutes, like this. So the structure would be that we might have some background page, option page, maybe some pop-up for our extension, and page action. And in terms of components and attributes that we also need to give to our extension, would be some kind of permissions, some scripts, things like the name and the version and description of the extension, as well as the icon, so the little image that goes with our extension. And on the next slide, here are the things that I've been talking about. So this is the screenshot of this manifest.json file that we need to create as a core of our extension. And we can see we have the field for name, version, description, the browser action, permissions. It's all over here. Before we go and create our first extension today, I just wanted to highlight one of the pretty important difference as well between the two types of extensions. So we can basically have extensions that would be a browser action. So this little icon would appear, or basically in this place, whichever tab we are in, whichever site we are in. And the page action, this is an extension that only sometimes would appear on a given site to give us this particular site data. So good example of this use case would be, for example, I have an extension installed that tracks Google Analytics data. So if Google Analytics is not installed for all of the pages, this will not appear by default. But each time it catches this trigger, this will appear. Today, we are going to create a browser action extension. So this will be applicable to whichever site we are on. We can always go and make use of this extension. So this is the task of today's Hangouts and the extension that we are going to create. So we'll be adding an icon to Google Chrome that, after we click on it, will display an automatically generated page. So this is exactly how this is going to look like. So this is the little icon of the extension we are going to create. And once we click on it, it will display the pictures that it has found on Flickr based on a search that we identify. So this is a browser action extension which adds a button to Chrome's toolbar whose behavior we will be controlling. So a pretty basic extension that we'll be creating. And just to note before we start, sometimes when I've been creating some extensions, I've been running into certain errors, and then as simple as that, I discovered that it's really important which text program are we going to use. It's really important that when we create our codes, that they really stay in the very same form, and preferably this will be the plain text format. So if we have a program that will automatically convert it in a rich text format, that would really add a lot of extra information that will just make this action that we need to achieve today impossible. That's why, as a best practice, I would recommend that if you work on a Mac computer, that you use this first program, and if you work on a Windows machine, that you use the Notepad++. I'm sure there are many other programs here as well. It's just important that it's slightly more advanced and that we have this. We are certain that the text will stay in a plain format. So if you are going through this recording or presentation, just make sure this is a very important part before you start working on an extension. And this is it. Now this is the practical part of developing the extension. And just to make it even easier for you later to follow it on your own, because now I think in the interest of time I will create this extension, give you a demo of how to create it, and then hopefully you can follow these steps on your own. And all the steps, all the codes are very clearly available for you on this website. Yes, can you see the website?
Yes, I can.
That's great. So I will now very slowly walk you through the steps you will need to complete also on your own to create your first extension that, as we said, will be a browser action. So as I mentioned, the core is this manifest.json file that we need to create. But first, let's create somewhere on our computer a folder that we will then be including all the files we need for our extension. So on my desktop. I'm adding a new folder, and I'll call it a test extension. Let us go back to these instructions. So I have the folder, and now I need to create a text file, and to highlight it again, a plain format text file that will be called manifest.json, and then this is the body of this document. So this is the part that needs to be included in our manifest.json file. So I copy paste, and I have confidence in this program that this will really be the version that it saves this at, and manifest.json needs to be the name of this file. So I'm saving this, save as manifest.json. This is now saved on my desktop, so I need to put it into this folder that I've created. And then there's another action I need to complete. So each extension has a little icon that we can click on in order to get to our extension. It's a very specific format, and here is the sample one that we can use for our exercise. Great, and we also need to add it to our, what is it now? Copy on my desktop as well. Yes, we need to add this icon to our extension folder, so that's the second part that goes there. And now this is the time to load our extension already. So we need to access the extensions via Tools and Extensions. Go to the developer mode, so by clicking this button here, and then I guess it's already time to load extension. So I'm choosing my test extension folder, selecting, and hopefully this is a success. So my first extension I've made is already uploaded. I've created an extension, and we can already see excuse me, that the icon appears over here. But this is only a very first and basic step, and let's just take a couple of more minutes to actually make this extension do something that we like, because now it only has a name, it has an icon. Let's add, it has some action defined, but we need to add, and we want to add this pop-up functionality. That once we click on it, there will be some information displayed via a pop-up. So let's copy this part of the code and paste it in the line after default icon, again in our manifest.json file. Default icon, copy pasting. And save. That's great. So we've added this default pop-up line. And again, additional text files that we need to create in our folder will be called pop-up HTML and pop-up JS. So this is the code to be pasted in this first file. As you can see, all this information is available for you, so you can go and give it a go and test as well. So I'm pasting this code, giving this a name, pop-up in HTML. and then another file with the JavaScript code. And this is the name, the popup.js is the name of the second text document. That's great. I have both of the files, and I need to add them to our extension folder again. All files are here. Now what we can do, once we are ready with these additional files, we go back to this extension area in our Chrome settings and expand the extension we are working on. And we need to hit reload. Successfully again. So let's see what is going to happen now after we click on our extension. Now we can see we've managed to achieve, so these are the pictures, the picture results that it pulls from Flickr based on the search that we've defined. And it's dynamic and in the pop-up format. So hopefully you've seen, I think it took us less than 10 minutes to create this extension, if not 5. Hopefully you will manage right after this Hangout to create this extension as well. And to summarize what we have achieved and what we have built is the demo extension that displays some pictures from Flickr. Then the pictures that are displayed can be dynamic, so it will change over time. So what the action behind is actually going to Flickr and searching for Hello World and returning the most recent image results. And also important thing that it does use the safe search, so there should only be some appropriate images appearing over here. So now it's your turn. Please follow the steps from the presentation, from the website, and some best practices and tips, and do create your Chrome extension by following the tutorial. For more advanced users and those of you who would really like to create something even more fancy and advanced, there are a couple of materials as a follow-up included on this slide, and I would really encourage you to either subscribe to Chromium Extensions page, have a look and watch maybe this video, how to build an extension. It's really much more advanced, and already it's recorded as well, so maybe if you have some more time, you can definitely dedicate it to watching this video and then maybe trying to build this code as well and come up with a more advanced extension. I have some materials for you around how to use the Chrome browser, some best practices. Also, for people who are interested in this topic, so the difference between an app and extension, really good article. And also, if you'd like to bring it to the next level in the near future, how to publish your extension via the developer dashboard. So all this information is included here for your reading pleasure, or whenever you feel ready to reach the next step. This Hangout is more of a basic introduction. So on my side, I only wanted to remind you that we would need a volunteer for next week to present during the workshop. So that would be a very short 20-minute presentation just to introduce the Google Chrome extensions technology. So what are the features you like, how this can be used, how can this be helpful for a project that it's not that difficult to create one. So if you'd like to volunteer and really give it a go and have some great experience, then just please contact us and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Magda.
That's it on my side.
Thank you, Magda, so much.
Cool.
By the way,
so, thank you, Sarah, for coming, and we'll post this again later on after I've managed to get the video sorted out. So, Magda, thank you so much, and Sarah, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
And next week or tomorrow, we have a hangout tomorrow?
We do have hangout tomorrow, yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Magda.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Pleasure.
Bye-bye. All right.